This is where the magic happens every single day, every single matinee. The Stage Door in London's glittering West End, or indeed if you're in the United States of America, the Great White Way, Broadway. It's where all actors want to appear. We told you recently about, of course, Sarah Jessica Parker and her husband Matthew Broderick. It was the sort of icing on the cake for them to bring their Plaza Suite over to London. Now that was a very successful production. It literally broke box office records, filled every night, purely because of the power of Sarah Jessica's popularity and of course being in a mega hit TV show like Sex and the City. Devoted fans who watched it now 24 years ago are now going to the theatre with some disposable income, and you would need some, of course, because theatre's expensive. But you see, other people have found very clever, ingenious ways to make sure that they get their West End show tour publicised virtually for free, literally across all platforms. And this is all really, some might suggest, down to the stupidity of the current Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and of course Transport for London, otherwise known as TfL. Let me explain. Morning, lovely to see you today. Thank you so much for taking the time out. And of course, it is lovely to talk about theatre. As we all know, if you can afford it, well, it's a bit of a bonus, isn't it? It's a very expensive thing now going to the theatre, unless, of course, you're very clever online and know how to get those deals. And that is the important key factor there. How do you get those deals? Now, it's interesting because, as we often say, theatre itself is very, very expensive to put together. You have the orchestra, you've got the actors, the rehearsal time, the costumes, the dresses. There is a lot of backstage staff that people don't see. Hence the reason some of the ticket prices are, well, eye-watering to say the least. But recently, you see, a couple of people have been very clever in duping the Mayor of London, that is, of course, Sadiq Khan, and TfL, Transport for London. For instance, remember this, Operation Mincemeat. Well, they put up a poster and apparently this was so offensive that they had to take it down on the orders of the Mayor and Transport for London. Guess what? This resulted in an extension of their booking. Bookings were up and they got acres of publicity, something they simply could not have got if they'd have paid for it. You see, they managed to cut down their marketing costs simply by doing something some might suggest by mistake. Not the first one though. This particular gentleman recently hit the headlines because his comedy tour with, of course, a burger, which was apparently very offensive to anybody who was travelling on the London Underground or indeed buses, simply because it's promoting obesity, fast food, terrible thing, you know what I'm saying? Well, that got toned down and he got free publicity too. But you see, here's the contradiction in terms with this particular idea. McDonald's recently bought a wraparound deal on the front of the free newspaper Metro, picked up by very few now because people simply don't read newspapers. But nonetheless, this was a big ad on both sides of the newspaper promoting McDonald's. Now, these were placed in and outside of tube stations, but no message there, no telling that particular newspaper off. Oh no, because the Mayor of London and Transport for London get a lot of money to have those tins inside the tube stations and on the buses. So you see the double standards. But if you're a budding thespian trying to just simply to get your show and people to come in, or indeed a reputable theatre company, you'll be torn down under this latest regime by Mayor Khan. But more importantly, if you're clever, the sleepy people over at TfL will let your poster through, and eventually you'll get that free publicity anyway. Food for thought, eh? Neil Sean in the very heart of London.